The sun hung low over the arid plains, casting a merciless glow on a circle of villagers, their faces twisted with judgment. In the center, a young girl named Aisha knelt, her hands bound, her neck barely visible above the packed earth that buried her up to her shoulders. Her crime? Infertility. The village elder's voice boomed, condemning her as a curse, a blight on their crops and future. Stones lay in a pile nearby, ready to seal her fate. Aisha's eyes, wide with terror, flickered to the horizon, searching for a miracle that seemed impossible. Little did she know, a lone figure, a rancher named Elias, father of 4, was watching from the ridge, his heart pounding with a resolve that would change her life forever. Aisha had grown up in this village, a place where tradition clung like dust to every breath. At 19, she was bright, kind, and known for her laughter, which could lift even the weariest farmer's spirit. But when her marriage to Cale, the village blacksmith's son, yielded no children after 2 years, whispers turned to accusations. The village believed barrenness angered the spirits, cursing their harvests. Aisha's mother-in-law, Mara, led the charge, her grief over no grandchildren curdling into cruelty. Aisha pleaded, her tears soaking the earth, but the council's verdict was final, burial up to her neck, a ritual to cleanse the village. As they shoveled dirt around her, Aisha's hope dwindled, her mind replaying memories of her father's stories about a kinder world beyond the village. Elias, the rancher, was an outsider, a widower who'd settled on the outskirts 4 years ago after his wife's death. He raised his 4 daughters, Lila, 12, who dreamed of being a healer, twins Mara and Tessa, 10, who bickered but loved fiercely, and little Sophie, 6, who saw magic in everything. Elias was a quiet man, his hands rough from tending cattle, his heart scarred yet open. He'd heard of the village's harsh customs but kept his distance, teaching his girls to value compassion over tradition. That morning, Lila had overheard traders at the market whispering about Aisha's punishment. "Papa, they're going to kill her," Lila said, her voice trembling. Elias's jaw tightened. He'd lost too much to stand by while another life was stolen. As the villagers chanted, Elias crept closer, hidden by the scrub brush. Aisha's eyes met his for a fleeting moment, a silent plea that struck him like lightning. He couldn't save his wife, but he could save her. The challenge was daunting, the village was armed, united by fear and superstition. Elias was one man, with no weapon but his courage and 4 girls waiting at home. He whispered a plan to himself, heart racing. He'd wait for dusk, when the villagers would disperse, believing Aisha's suffering would appease their spirits overnight. But time was short. Aisha's strength was fading, her lips cracked from thirst. The day dragged on, each minute an eternity for Aisha. Buried, she felt the earth's weight pressing her chest, her breaths shallow. Memories flooded her, her mother braiding her hair, her father's tales of far-off cities where women weren't judged by their wombs. She clung to those images, refusing to let despair win. Meanwhile, Elias returned home, gathering supplies, a shovel, a waterskin, a cloak to shield Aisha. His daughters sensed his urgency. "Papa, are you saving someone?" Sophie asked, her eyes wide. Elias knelt, explaining softly, "Sometimes, doing what's right means taking a risk." Lila, practical and fierce, insisted on helping. Against his instincts, Elias agreed she'd keep watch from a distance. As night fell, the village grew quiet, the crowd thinning. Elias moved swiftly, Lila trailing behind with a lantern. He reached Aisha, whose head slumped forward, barely conscious. "Hold on," he whispered, digging furiously. The earth was stubborn, packed tight, and each scoop felt too slow. Lila's lantern flickered, casting shadows that made every rustle a threat. Aisha stirred, her voice a rasp. Why help me?" Elias didn't pause. "Because no one deserves this." His hands blistered, but he freed her arms, then her torso, wrapping her in the cloak. Lila's sharp whistle warned of approaching footsteps, a villager, suspicious, returning to check on Aisha. Elias froze, pulling Aisha behind a boulder. The villager, an older man named Torin, peered into the darkness, muttering about spirits. Lila, quick-witted, tossed a pebble far to the side, drawing Torin's attention. Elias seized the moment, carrying Aisha toward his horse hidden in the brush. Her weight was light, her body frail from the ordeal. They reached the ranch as dawn broke, Aisha barely awake. Elias's daughters sprang into action, Lila boiled water, Mara and Tessa fetched blankets, and Sophie held Aisha's hand, whispering, "You're safe now." The next days were tense. Aisha, weak but alive, found solace in the ranch's warmth. The girls, curious and kind, peppered her with questions about her life. Aisha shared her love for weaving, her dreams of seeing the world. Elias, though reserved, listened, his respect for her resilience growing. But the village wouldn't forget. Word spread of Aisha's escape, and Cale, her husband, arrived with Mara, demanding her return. "She's a curse." Mara spat. Elias stood firm, his daughters behind him. "She's a person, not your scapegoat," he said, his voice steady but fierce. Cale, torn between duty and shame, hesitated. Aisha, finding her strength, stepped forward. "I'm not yours to judge anymore," she said, her voice trembling but clear. The confrontation was a turning point. Cale, seeing Aisha's defiance and Elias's unwavering stand, backed down. Mara stormed off, but the village's grip on Aisha weakened. Elias offered her a choice: stay at the ranch or leave for a new life. Aisha chose to stay, not out of fear, but because she'd found a family in Elias and his daughters. She taught them weaving, her fingers nimble despite her ordeal, and learned from Lila's herbal remedies, finding purpose in healing. Months passed, and Aisha's laughter returned, blending with the girls' chatter. The ranch became a haven, not just for her but for others, travelers, outcasts, anyone needing refuge. Elias, once solitary, found his heart opening, not to romance, but to a deeper bond of shared purpose. Aisha's story spread beyond the village, carried by traders, challenging old customs. The village elder, shamed by whispers of his cruelty, softened his rulings, and the ritual burial ceased. Years later, Aisha stood on the ranch's porch, watching Sophie chase fireflies. She was no longer the girl buried in the earth but a woman who'd reclaimed her life. Elias joined her, his eyes crinkling with a rare smile. "You changed us," he said simply. Aisha shook her head. "You saved me first." The stars above seemed brighter, a testament to their shared resilience. For every viewer watching this tale unfold, the message is clear: one act of courage can break chains, and compassion can build a home where none existed. Stand for what's right, and you might just save a life and find your own in the process.